Hello everyone and good day. This is Zog Mad Dog, and today we will be exploring World Anvil CSS. This is the start of a new series I hope to run exploring in depth how to design your world's CSS from start to finish. I will be using CSS syntax for these tutorials, so it is recommended you familiarize yourself with the syntax ahead of time. The three important terms are property, class, and container. Make sure you have a good understanding of those before you continue. But if the code seems a bit too difficult for you, you can always just follow along and copy-paste what I write into the CSS block. For these tutorials, I have created a brand new world titled Magirium. First, we'll take a look at how to change both backgrounds on this page, the first being the gray background that sits behind the content of your world, and then the actual content divider background. Before we jump in, remember to hit that like button and subscribe and click the bell for notifications so you can see our future tutorials and videos. The first thing we will need to do is open up the developer tools for your browser. This is different for each browser, but I'll put on screen the hotkey for some of the more popular ones. In Google Chrome, the command is Ctrl-Shift-I. The Developer Tools panel will let you inspect CSS elements throughout the page. I know it looks complicated, but don't worry, we'll guide you through it. The first thing we're going to do is search for the class that the background is in. In this case, it is under user-css-presentation. There are some tools that can help you find these, including this button, which allows you to select an element in the page to inspect it. The command on Chrome is Ctrl-Shift-C, but it's different on each browser, so you may have to look around a bit. Click on the button, and then hover over the element that you want to inspect. When you click on it, it'll take you to that container. However, in this case, it's brought us to the container for the page and not where the background is actually stored. So we're going to go back to user-css-presentation. Now we can open up the built-in World Anvil CSS editor. It's this button here that looks like a painter's palette. Click on it, and it'll open up this small text box. Now we can reference the class that we wish to edit. First, click in the text box, then type .user-css-presentation. Then we're going to use what I like to call the squiggly bracket, but I'll just be calling it a bracket from now on. Put 2 spaces, or enter twice, and then place a closed bracket. Now we can type out the command we want to put in user CSS presentation. I like to place 3 spaces, just so the code stays nice and neat. Then we'll type background, place a colon, and from here we have to decide what we want our background to be. Now we could just place a solid color, such as black. Don't forget to end every command with a semicolon. Now, while black may be the background you want to go with, I think it's better to use something a little bit more stylish. So we're going to get an image. I like this image, so I think this is the one we're going to use. Now, while you could reference the image directly from ArtBreeder, I highly recommend that you download it and place it in your images and files on World Anvil, so that in case, if it gets removed from ArtBreeder, you'll still be safe and have a background. I've already done this, as you can see here. What we'll need to do is click View Image, and then View Full Size just below the picture. Unfortunately, this image doesn't look like it's going to stretch the whole screen, so we might lose a little bit of quality, but I'm okay with that. The thing we need to do now is copy the image's link from the HTML bar. You can also right-click the image and click Copy Image Address. What we'll want to do now is return to our world page and take another look at our background command under user-css-presentation. Instead of typing just a solid color, we can delete that and type URL, open parentheses, close parentheses, and then paste the link between the parentheses. I'm going to close the Developer Tools panel in the CSS editor so I can see the full image. As you can see, it starts by tiling across the world page, and we don't want that. So what we'll do is reopen the CSS editor and type in a new command, 3 spaces, background, dash size. From there, we need to type cover, and then your semicolon to end the command. As you can see now, the image covers the entire screen. However, perhaps we don't like the image scrolling as we scroll through the article. In this case, we need to use a new command. In order to do this, we'll come back to our CSS editor, create a new line, 3 spaces, and type background dash attachment, followed by a colon. The property we will use for this command is fixed, followed by a semicolon. As you can see now, the image is static and doesn't move as I scroll through the page. We have successfully set the background for the entire page. Now it's time to move on to setting the background for the content of your world. First, we will reopen our developer tools and use our inspect element to see this container. As you can see, the containers class is user-css, which is what we'll be using for the majority of CSS editing in the future. Now let's start typing out the reference to this class. .user-css, squiggly bracket, followed by 2 enters and a closed squiggly bracket. Now we repeat the same steps as we did with the larger background. 3 spaces, background followed by a colon, and now we could type a color, but I think we should go find another image that's suitable for our world. I've already got a full-size image ready to go, so we'll type in the same command, URL, 2 parentheses, and then in between the parentheses, copy the link, followed by a semicolon. But oh no, look! The image is off-centered, and now there's a line through the center of my content box. I don't want this, so we're going to use a new command called background-position. This command allows us to shift the image around and stretch it so that way it covers the full box without accidentally repeating. We'll type it in, followed by a colon, and then use the property center. As you can see, the image isn't quite wide enough to cover the full container, so we need to use the background size command like we did for the global background. We'll start by entering a new line, typing out the command, placing the colon, and then using the same property, cover. Closing down the CSS editor box and closing the developer tools, we can see the full finished product. That concludes today's tutorial on backgrounds for your page. I hope you enjoyed. I also hope that I was able to help some of you get started with the CSS for your world. Don't be afraid to delve into this for yourself and using resources such as W3 in order to find commands. And also take a look at your developer tools and start inspecting the page and looking at some of the other boxes. Those will come important later, so you'll want to try and memorize a few of them. Thank you for joining. I hope you have a wonderful day.